Both the former and current directors of the FBI came under fire recently during congressional testimony on Capitol Hill. Hearings were held to discuss the Department of Justice Inspector General's report on the FBI's Hillary Clinton email investigation. IG Michael Horowitz found bias at the FBI against Donald Trump, but no evidence the bias had an impact on the Clinton investigation. So what's the truth about all this? What's likely to happen next? How might the IG report and another one coming out in a few months affect the special counsel's Russia collusion investigation? Well, joining us is Sam Nunberg. He's a former Trump campaign aide and political consultant. Sam, what were your thoughts about that IG report? I know many conservatives were disappointed. It seemed it revealed a lot to those who actually read it.
Well, first of all, I think everybody has to understand that IG himself, Horowitz, is not doing anything incorrect when he says, I didn't find any political bias. The reason is the limitation on what he can find. He would literally need these FBI agents to tell him that the entire investigation, the procedures that they took, were all done because of their bias and because of their bias in their support for Hillary Clinton. In other words, he cannot build a circumstantial case. When we look at these texts that were sent, when they look into the fact that they had the FBI had two witnesses who have to corroborate each other's testimony sitting in the same room, I can tell you that's not the condition and the treatment that I got from Mueller's grand jury, from Mueller's special counsel. I did not get that treatment, nor do any of us. They're just trying to catch us, each of us, in the very least, process perjury traps on Mueller's vendetta against the president. With that said, the irony is that Peter Strzok, who was one of the most senior people. Now, remember, Peter Strzok, when I just say he's one of the most senior people, there's an email where James Comey emails his number two the statement he's preparing to give on the Clinton investigation. And the two people on that email chain that McCabe sends it to are Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, who Peter Strzok was having an extramarital affair with. She was cheating on her husband with him. And you have many other instances where when you look at this and you look at the fact that they were conducting this investigation at the same time, and this is critical, at the same time that they were launching a Russian counter-investigation, which Barack Obama certainly knew about. I don't want to hear from anyone he didn't. It strains credulity to believe that they would not have advised the President of the United States they were doing something that sensitive.
Well, some of those texts between the two of them say that the president wants to know everything?
They certainly did. And, we haven't received answers from that. And here's another critical point, which Horowitz conveniently leaves out. And I only assume it's under the orders of Rod Rosenstein, who's an absolute disgrace, who, along with Jeff Sessions, are two of the most dishonorable attorney generals and deputy attorney generals I've ever seen. They leave out Horowitz that there is somebody else, another FBI lawyer, who conducted himself with these political bias, these texts, texts saying that people like you and me who voted for Trump are morons, whatever else it said.
Democrats, including Hillary Clinton, accused James Comey, the former FBI director, of harming her chances to become president by announcing that he was reopening her investigation just days before that 2016 presidential election. Now, your thoughts on that?
Well, Gary, this is the irony of ironies. In the report, in IG Horowitz, Inspector General Horowitz's report, Horowitz has a major problem with Peter Strzok taking his time on the Anthony Weiner computer, which contained Uma Abedin's classified emails. Now, remember, that computer was being used by Anthony Weiner to proposition minors. And Strzok, it wasn't a high priority to him. And Strzok, I believe, may have even said that he was too ingrained, or his attention was too directed towards the Russian counterintelligence investigation against the Trump campaign. The irony is that because Strzok did not do anything about that computer, which the FBI had as early as September, or could have had, and I believe that local New York FBI field officials and the NYPD forced Strozak, McCabe, Comey, and Strozak's girlfriend, Lisa Page, to take action. And the irony is that it did affect the election.
Yeah, well, they sat on that for about a month. That came out in the IG's testimony before Congress. I think Senator Ted Cruz was asking him about that, and it was obvious they sat on it for a month before they actually made the decision to release the information.
And Gary, if it was up to them, if it was up to Comey, they would not have done anything, and they would not have informed the public. The only reason I believe, and it's insinuated in this report, I don't know, I don't have any personal or firsthand knowledge of this, Gary. I got to be careful because then Mueller will call me back in to the grand jury and try to get me in a perjury trap. But I believe that they received, the DC, the James Comeys, they received a lot of pressure from American heroes who are these unnamed and New York FBI agents and the NYPD.
Despite all the negative media that this president is getting, he seems to be growing in approval and popularity. So how is all this affecting him personally and his presidency?
Well, thank God it isn't, because he's a very strong man and he's adapted. I always thought that the president was going to not realize that, look, the political gravity will never apply to Donald Trump. It just won't. But presidential gravity and the institutions were initially going to apply, were going to apply. And I always thought it was going to be difficult for him to go from the 26th floor of Trump Tower and not realize he's just, frankly, not the boss. And he's got to operate differently in some ways. So,
well, it seems like he is acting a little more presidential these days. I think the whole North Korea thing in Singapore helped that.
100%. He's hit his stride. And ultimately, this midterm is a referendum on Donald Trump. If the Republicans do not keep the House, and if the Democrats even have a one-seat majority and Nancy Pelosi is Speaker, in January 2019, I will tell you that Jerry Nadler, Adam Schiff, and Pelosi will impeach this president. They will keep this process going on. They will try to affect his reelection. Once again, if the Republicans do not keep the Senate, your audience has to understand that the president may very well, get another Supreme Court justice vacancy. And I guarantee you that if it's a Democrat Senate, they will not push anybody through to this president. So it's very important. This is ultimately Donald Trump's first reelection. And it's important for all of us, once again, to rise up and have a historic win for him, because this president is bringing peace from North Korea. He is securing our border. And most importantly, American optimism, people happy with the direction of the country. And our economic prosperity has never been higher after the malaise from Obama. And I think that that's why, whether we like him personally, whether we like everything he does, and I'm sure we all don't, we all have our problems, we have to work just as hard as we did in 2016 in that election for him, that midterm. And even despite the Republicans themselves in Congress, we're doing this for Donald Trump, but I hope we all go out and vote.
Okay, Sam Nunberg, I think it's going to be a long, hot summer, maybe even a hotter fall as we prepare for the midterm election coming up in about 5 months. So I know you'll stay on top of it, and we appreciate you. We'll be back with you again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, I think everything will work out, but we'll see.